then there's a few things that this Raw episode had that kind of it did not make sense. He had that one. He had Xavier Woods and Cedric Alexander, which didn't make sense to me. The only one that kind of made sense is the whole AJ Lee versus Keith Lee. I'm sorry, AJ Lee. Wow. AJ Styles versus Keith Lee versus Matt Riddle. But then you have this tag team match of Drew McIntyre and Sheamus against Miz and Morrison. Where the hell did Sheamus and McIntyre become friends?
Oh, and they had that faction a few years back. But it's a little odd, a little bit.
Wait, which faction?
That, oh man, you're gonna maybe think about what the name of the faction.
Are you talking about the League of Nations?
Maybe that's what. Yeah.
They weren't in it together. Sheamus was in it, but McIntyre wasn't. McIntyre was in 3MB.
Yeah, no, he was in League of Nations too.
Are you sure? I don't remember that.
I'm pretty dang sure it was McIntyre, Sheamus, Alberto, I believe was in it. Cesaro.
Oh, you're saying McIntyre. It was Wade Barrett, dude.
Oh, well, they've been friends for a long time.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, it just threw me off because it was out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. They've been friends in the past, I guess. So that's why they brung in that friendship in. My bad. It was not Drew McIntyre. My bad.
Yeah.
We were like, "What are you talking about, dude?" I'm like, "My bad." It's like it's hard to sit there and remember everything possible.
Okay, and you want to know why I remembered it? Because my feeling was Wade Barrett's a good guy, but I thought McIntyre should have been part of that group and been the star. But instead, he was in 3MB.
I swore that Sheamus and Drew was in some kind of faction or something at one point.
Not that I could think of, because when Drew came in, he was supposed to be the chosen one. He was part of the chosen one.
Yeah, right.
And then by the time Sheamus got there, he was already part of 3MB. I remember he teamed with Cody Rhodes at one point.
Dude, that I tell you, that angle with 3MB it was obviously comedy act, but yeah, it was Drew and Heath and dude, now I'm drawing blank. Who was that guy?
Drew, Heath, and that was
oh my gosh.
I know who you're talking about.
Modern day Maharaja, whatever.
Yeah. It was
wow. Drawing blanks here, y'all.
I
wouldn't even
Jinder Mahal.
Jinder Mahal, wow. Anyways, yeah. It was for what it was, comedy act and everything, it was alright, but I'm glad Drew got away from that eventually. And obviously you had to get a different mindset of the business, but I swear there's some kind of thing he did with Sheamus a few years back, and I think it's what drew their friendship in. What's going on now? Yeah, it didn't make a whole. I guess it makes sense as far as them being friends, but as far as him playing Sheamus being a kind of leading a babyface kind of a part in the storyline, it's kind of like, okay, aren't you supposed to be more of a heel? But I guess they want to mix it up. But whatever they decide to do in the future with that, it'd be interesting. Would you want to see Sheamus do a full face turn or what?
I don't know. I just don't. I think it looked right with him and McIntyre together. Is what it comes down to. Yeah. And Sheamus does a lot of tag team work, which is not bad. But it just, to me, is like, you guys are not. It doesn't make sense character wise for you two to be together. It kind of felt like they're like, well, we want to put Drew in this tag team match with Miz and Morrison. Who should we pair him up with? Sheamus. All right. Well, why Sheamus? They're both from the UK. What the hell? That's what it felt like. Like that was like the whole thought process.
I guess they wanted to say bring us some kind of past in, and then have me show their friendship, I guess, on camera. Which I said at one part, it makes a little bit of sense for that, but in the big picture, like, okay, he's a heel, Sheamus, but it just they say they just want to mix it up. So
right.
Yeah.
And am I wrong? But isn't Jinder Mahal still part of WWE?
I believe he is, and I seen him a few months ago on SmackDown. It might have been. I think he got traded off to Raw, but he came back from an injury. I'll say a couple months ago, and then that was it. So I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
He's injured.
I was gonna say it would make more sense for him to had partnered with Drew, but now I'm reading he just had surgery within the last few months.
Oh,
And that's
okay.
why.
I wasn't aware that there was another ordeal with that.
Yeah, apparently he's having complications from it.
Okay, that makes sense. I just wasn't. I don't recall an announcement or anything or whatnot. But hopefully, and honestly, I think Jinder Mahal was when he was able to finally get into the spotlight a little bit. I think he did pretty good, my opinion. But a lot of people were kind of fussing or making jokes about it. I was like, well, I thought it was pretty good stuff.
The only bad thing is it was so transparent to WWE that they're doing it for an Indian expansion.
Oh yeah, but I think Jinder Mahal took advantage of it in a good way and made the best of it. I think he did really good, honestly.
If it was a little bit more of a slower climb, it would have been a little bit better. I do like the fact that they paired him up with the Singh brothers as part of his muscle, if you will.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It
Um,
made a good heelish character.
Yep.
And I was definitely for it.
Yeah.
So I mean, and him winning that battle royal was out of nowhere. So that's what made it even better too.
Well, I would have been fine with him winning the battle royal and then do a slow climb after that, but
Yeah,
it just felt like, okay, why is this out of nowhere? Why are we doing this? And then you read, oh, WWE is trying to expand into India. Ah, okay. So you're taking a guy that is from Canada who looks Indian and putting him on the pedestal.
yeah.
But when it comes to Raw, they only have a couple storylines that I'm interested in, and same with SmackDown. The only ones that I'm really interested in with SmackDown is what's going on with Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns, and kind of Murphy.
A little bit. I'm waiting to see what happens with that. It's waiting to see what's behind all that.
Yeah.
If they make it just the way it is like okay, whatever.
Oh, do you know who the Forgotten Sons were?
Forgotten Sons.
They were like the biker group from NXT, and they went up to WWE, but then went off TV for a while. Well, do you remember Gunner and Impact? He tagged with James Storm. He did the torture rack and called it the gun rack.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was a group he was leading. He under the name Jackson Riker. He's no longer Gunner and part of that. So, in the match where King Corbin and Murphy were together, he had two people behind him. Those were the Forgotten Sons minus Jackson Riker. Jackson Riker got in a lot of trouble over the summer, I believe, for how he spoke about Black Lives Matter in social media. The expectation is that WWE is going to cut him when they do releases, and that's why they realign the Forgotten Sons with King Corbin. Yeah.
So that's what that was all about on
Mm-hmm.
there. Okay, I was wondering about that. That makes sense now.
Actually, I forgot to mention there is one other storyline I'm interested in. It has to do with Sami Zayn. But anyway.
Anything Sami Zayn does now is just cool.
Yeah, it is. It is. Even though they kind of put him in a weird tag team match, for Pat Patterson, it was Rey Mysterio, Daniel Bryan, and Big E versus Sami Zayn, Shinsuke, and Dolph. It was weirdly it kind of reminded me of like what you would see at a local house show than anything you would typically see on SmackDown.
Yeah.
But the fact that Sami Zayn sold it as much as he did, Zayn is definitely someone that should run with. And of course, the whole thing between Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens and Jey Uso. It's the SmackDown in terms of WWE. I do prefer NXT, but SmackDown is way better than Raw in most cases.
I have to go along with that, and it's one thing unfortunate parts of that. I mean, the only thing that's going to keep me going right now, and on the Raw side, is AJ Styles and Drew McIntyre. That's what's keeping me. And also, of course, you got Fiend and Orton too. But yeah, I just anything AJ Styles is part of, it's I'm always intrigued. And Drew's caught my eye. A little bit of late part last year, but especially this year. And of course, it's just Fiend and Orton are very intriguing too. It's just we've talked before, they're not bringing in what they need to bring in, and and they're cutting off storylines too much. I told you earlier today. Bully Ray was talking about this on his show. How storylines have been cut off. It's like you're trying to get invested into these characters and these storylines. I know it's been going on for a long time, but you got someone like let's say Retribution.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, we were invested, it was cool, and he killed it off.
Mm-hmm.
Practically. I mean, they ain't done, but it's like, okay, they're in there as a mid-card team now, mid-card faction. Sorry. Now what? It's like it's like you want me to get invested. I got invested to it, and then you cut me off. It's like what? Now they're just another faction that's treated as a non-threat. And I think the Hurt Business kind of gotten a little bit not as much as entertaining as they once were.
Right. Well, and they did this recently with a SmackDown hacker story, which then they killed it, and then Ali randomly says in a promo, "I was the hacker." Okay, what was the reason behind it? There's not enough forethought into it. One of the things that drives me insane about the Retribution is it should be a good angle. It should be a really good angle, especially considering TNA did it with Aces and Eights, and it was pretty good. It ended weird, but overall it was pretty good. But yet, Retribution didn't state exactly what they're trying to do and exactly what their goal is, and now they're hired by this company that they're trying to destroy, which makes no sense. With SmackDown Hacker, we didn't know why he was hacking. It didn't make sense. He didn't really do much beyond that. Now, there is a rumor the reason that happened is because Ali wanted to get off of SmackDown because he didn't like how Bruce Prichard was doing things. And he wanted to work with Paul Heyman, and I guess Paul Heyman had pitched some ideas, and Vince shot him down. Big shocker there.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is.
But that don't explain on TV. It's like
No, they don't explain it on TV at all. And when you said you got interested in, when I saw them do the Retribution thing, I'm looking at them like, oh, they're gonna mess this up.
Oh yeah.
They did it. They've done it so many times to where I have an expectation when they're trying to introduce this invading faction. I just was like, well, okay, let's see how they're gonna fuck this one up.
And it was so fast.
It was really fast because they had no plan. You know what they were doing. They were frustrated at the fact that AEW is climbing the ratings. So they're like, oh, I got an idea. We have a pandemic. We can spike the ratings by having this. We have this invading group because people don't like empty arenas. No, just write better stuff, man. Like this is 100% within your control. You can, if you write better stuff, people will come. People are entertained by that. They're not entertained by you doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again.
And they are way too scripted.
Very scripted. Very scripted.
Oh,
to where much. Even Jim Cornette's just like, I kind of feel like that's what Vince wanted the whole time, but it doesn't feel right. It doesn't have, like, you don't believe that the person believes that they're actually like this. You just kind of like, you're reading what you were told to say.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And it's like, Jericho talked about that recently. Like, they didn't have the, he got in there at 99 and it was already going on. It's like, Vince's style was, I want to be